All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're tackling Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book is, well, it's a classic for a reason, and I think anyone who wants to achieve success, any kind of success, not just, money, can find something valuable in his pages. We'll be going chapter by chapter, so get ready to have some light bulb moments, I guess.
You know what's really interesting about Think and Grow Rich? It's how the whole book is framed. Hill spent 20 years, like 2 decades, researching what makes people successful. And get this, it was at the request of Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate. And Carnegie's big thing was he wanted Hill to share this secret, this formula with everyone.
20 years is a huge commitment. So did it work? I mean, the secret formula, did it actually help people besides just Hill himself?
Oh, yeah. For sure. Hill actually tested it out with over 100,000 people before he even put the book out there. Entrepreneurs, families, there was even this clergyman who used Hill's principles to seriously boost his income. It's pretty impressive, right? So many different types of success stories.
That's really something. Makes you wonder what this secret is that Carnegie was so keen on sharing.
Well, Hill, he kind of keeps you guessing, right? He says the secret will reveal itself as we work our way through the book. Maybe it's right there in plain sight. Or maybe it's something that'll just hit you, when you're not even expecting it.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's jump into chapter 1 then. What makes this introduction so compelling?
Right off the bat, Hill throws you into the story of his 20 years of research. I mean, can you imagine interviewing hundreds of successful people? He talked to giants, people like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and a lot of them, they flat out admitted their success came from this secret Hill was researching.
Yeah, I can see why people have been fascinated by this book for so long. It's like a quest, a treasure hunt for knowledge. I've got to say, I'm pretty intrigued.
Well, buckle up, because chapter 1 just builds the suspense. Hill says the secret will practically jump off the page when the reader is ready. He talks about this mystic sign that'll pop up at a turning point in your life, and he says you'll know it when you see it.
All right, chapter 2 then. Desire the starting point of all achievement. So what's the big takeaway from this one?
Chapter 2 starts off with a story about Edwin Barnes, this young guy who was absolutely determined to work with Thomas Edison, not just for him. And what's striking about Barnes is his total, just unwavering commitment to that goal.
It's inspiring, but I also wonder, at what point does that single-mindedness become, I don't know, maybe a detriment? What do you think?
That's a really good point. Barnes' story does make you think about, balance. While it's great to have that burning desire, you need to be flexible too. Barnes, he didn't just stubbornly cling to his original plan. He took action, started in a less desirable position, and just kept working towards his goal.
Right, that's important. It's not just about wanting something really badly. It's also about being strategic and being able to adapt. So what did Barnes actually do? Did he just, keep showing up at Edison's lab every day, hoping to bump into him?
Not quite. He showed up, he made it clear what he wanted. And he impressed Edison with his conviction. He didn't let setbacks stop him. He even took, I think it was a pretty menial job at Edison's company, just to be there waiting for an opportunity.
Wow, talk about making the best of a situation. And his persistence paid off, right? He became Edison's business partner after, 5 years? It's a powerful reminder that success often takes time and effort, sustained effort.
That's exactly it. And Hill, he drives this point home with an analogy. He talks about a warrior who burns his ships after landing on enemy territory.
Look at that.
Throwing back, right. It's a powerful metaphor for how committed you need to be if you want to really succeed.
Okay, so we've got burning desire. What's next on Hill's path to riches?
Chapter 3, he dives into faith. Hill says faith is like the bridge between wanting something and actually getting it. But he's not talking about, blind faith. He's talking about a state of mind that you can actually cultivate. And the way you do it, he says, is through something he calls autosuggestion.
Faith can be a tricky word, right? It means different things to different people. So how does Hill define it, specifically in relation to success?
For Hill, faith is believing, really believing that what you want will become real. And to illustrate this, he tells a personal story about his son. His son was born without ears. And Hill, he instilled in his son this unwavering belief that he would be able to hear and speak just like anyone else. And you know what? Through that belief and a lot of effort, his son overcame what seemed like an insurmountable challenge.
That's incredible. It really does highlight how powerful our beliefs can be. But how do we actually develop that kind of unshakable faith?
That's where chapter 4 comes in autosuggestion. Hill's argument is that your subconscious mind doesn't really judge your thoughts. It accepts whatever you feed it, especially if those thoughts are mixed with strong emotions. So, if you're constantly dwelling on doubts and fears, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. But if you fill your mind with positive thoughts, positive, emotionally charged thoughts about what you want, you can actually reprogram yourself for success.
So we're talking about like affirmations, visualizations, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Does Hill give any specific instructions on how to use autosuggestion effectively?
He does, yeah. He outlines a 6-step process to achieve any goal. First, you got to be absolutely clear on what it is you want. Second, figure out what you're willing to give to get it. Success takes effort, no free lunch, right? Third, set a deadline. That creates urgency and helps you stay focused.
I'm taking notes here. What about the last 3 steps?
Okay, fourth, you got to make a plan, a detailed plan on how you're going to reach your goal. And then start taking action, like right away, even if you don't feel 100% ready. Fifth, write down a clear statement of your desire, what you're giving in return, your deadline, and your plan. And finally, read that statement out loud twice a day, every morning and evening, visualizing yourself as if you've already achieved your goal. Really feel it.
That's pretty practical.
Yeah.
But, let's be real. Some goals need more than just desire and faith and visualizations. What about, like, knowledge, skills, the practical stuff? Does Hill address that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Chapter 5 gets into specialized knowledge. Hill makes it clear that knowledge is out there, it's available, but he warns us about mistaking just information for actual knowledge.
I struggle with that all the time. It feels like we're bombarded with information these days. How do we cut through the noise and figure out what knowledge will actually help us succeed?
Well, Hill says there's general knowledge, which is fun for, trivia night, but it's not always useful. And then there's specialized knowledge, the kind that's directly related to reaching your specific goals.
That makes sense. It's about focusing on the knowledge that'll actually move us closer to what we want.
Yeah.
But how do we even know what specific knowledge we need? And once we know, where do we go to find it?
He's got some good advice on this. He says to use resources like universities, libraries, online courses, that kind of thing, to get that specialized knowledge. But he also talks about efficiently purchasing knowledge. And what he means by that is, finding experts, mentors who can give you the guidance you need.
That's so important. It's not just about, accumulating information. It's about finding the right people, the right sources to speed up your learning. What's next on Hill's list of success principles?
Chapter 6 is all about imagination, the workshop of the mind. Hill says imagination is what drives creativity and innovation. He talks about 2 types of imagination. The first is synthetic imagination, where you combine existing ideas, and then there's creative imagination, which is all about coming up with totally new ideas.
I have to admit, this is something I struggle with sometimes. I get so caught up in the day-to-day stuff that I feel like my imagination just, goes to sleep. Any tips on how to reawaken that creative spark?
Hill encourages us to, actively use our imagination to think up ideas and solutions. And he tells a great story. It's called The Enchanted Kettle, to really illustrate how a simple idea can create a ton of wealth. It's about this old country doctor who comes up with a secret formula for, like, a medicinal tonic. And he ends up selling this formula, along with an old kettle and a wooden paddle, to a young drug clerk for, like, $500. But the clerk, he sees the potential and uses his imagination and his business sense to turn that simple formula into a multi-million-dollar company. The old kettle, it becomes a symbol of that initial idea, this enchanted vessel overflowing with wealth.
I love that story. It really shows how powerful ideas can be, that they're like the seeds of fortunes. And our imagination is what helps those seeds grow. I'm starting to see how these principles connect, how they build on each other. We've got desire, faith, the power of our thoughts, the importance of specialized knowledge, and now this boundless potential of imagination. What's next?
In Chapter 7, we move into organized planning. Hill's argument is that even the most brilliant ideas are useless without a plan to make them real. He compares an idea without a plan to a seed without soil. It might have potential, but it needs the right environment to grow.
This is where the rubber meets the road, right? We can dream all we want, but without a roadmap, those dreams will probably stay just that, dreams. Does Hill offer any guidance on making effective plans?
He does, yeah. He talks about this young preacher named Gonzales. Gonzales dreamed of building this amazing educational institution, a world-class place. And he faced so many obstacles. He didn't have enough money, not enough support, but he was determined to raise the $1 million he needed for his project. And guess what? Within 36 hours of making that firm decision, of coming up with a plan, he got the funding.
No way. That's incredible. Sounds like organized planning is what connects imagination to actually achieving something. Anything else important in this chapter?
Yes. Hill brings up this concept of a mastermind group. Basically, it's a group of people who share your goals, your vision, and they support each other. He believes that when a mastermind group gets together, their combined wisdom and energy can really boost everyone's success.
That's such a powerful idea. It's like admitting that we don't have to do everything alone.
Hmm.
When we surround ourselves with people who lift us up, who inspire us, who share our vision, we can achieve so much more. So organized planning and mastermind groups. Got it.
Hmm.
What other crucial steps does Hill outline in Think and Grow Rich?
Well, in Chapter 8, he tackles something I think we can all relate to: indecision. Hill calls it the mastery of procrastination, and he argues that not being able to, make a decision, a clear, quick decision, that can really mess up even the best plans.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Indecision can be so paralyzing. It's like, you're standing at a fork in the road, you don't know which way to go, and you end up just stuck right where you started. So how do we get out of that? How do we stop waffling?
He uses a really powerful example: the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Think about it. 56 men, they put their lives on the line by signing that document. That decision, that was driven by, courage, conviction, and it led to, the birth of a nation. Hill's point is we need to get into the habit of making decisions right away, and he emphasizes how important this is for success in all areas of life.
It's a good reminder that, taking action, even when we're not sure, can lead to some pretty amazing things. But what about when we hit those roadblocks, those, inevitable challenges along the way? What does Hill say about dealing with that?
That's what Chapter 9 is all about: persistence. The subtitle is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Hill's argument is persistence is the key. It's how you overcome obstacles and reach your goal, whatever that goal is. And he emphasizes that persistence is a state of mind, something you can develop through willpower and, consistent effort, basically.
So it's about having that grit, that never give up attitude, even when things get tough. Are there any examples in the book, any, inspiring stories of persistence in action?
He shares a bunch. He talks about Fannie Hurst, the writer. She faced years of rejection before she finally got recognized on Broadway, but she didn't quit. She kept writing, kept submitting her work. And then there's Kate Smith, the singer. Countless unpaid gigs before she became a highly paid star.
Those stories are so encouraging, aren't they? They remind us that success often comes after a lot of hard work and dedication. It's about sticking with it, even when the going gets tough. Okay, so far we've covered desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, being decisive, and persistence. What's the next piece of the puzzle?
Chapter 10 goes even deeper into the power of the mastermind. This is the driving force, Hill says. And he comes back to that idea of having a group of people around you, people who get your vision, people who can offer valuable insights. He says that a mastermind group, their combined energy and wisdom, it can create this powerful synergy that helps everyone achieve more.
It's a theme that keeps coming up, right? That we're stronger together, that collaboration and a shared vision can really make a difference. Does Hill give any specific examples of mastermind groups in action?
He talks about Henry Ford and his close relationships with other, brilliant minds like Thomas Edison and Harvey Firestone. Those guys, they were all leaders in their fields, and I'm sure their collaborations helped Ford achieve his incredible success.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Success is often a team effort. It's about finding those people who will support you on your journey and creating an environment where everyone can, thrive. Okay, what's next on Hill's list of success principles?
This is where things get a little bit complex. Chapter 11 explores the mystery of sex transmutation, harnessing, the most powerful of human emotions.
This sounds interesting. What exactly is sex transmutation, though?
Well, Hill's idea is that sexual energy is this powerful force, a creative force, and it can be channeled into other areas, which can lead to, remarkable achievements. He argues that when it's properly directed, this energy can fuel things like, artistic expression, business ventures, even spiritual growth.
So it's not about denying or suppressing this natural energy, but transforming it into something productive, something that drives you towards your goals, kind of like redirecting a river to power a hydroelectric plant.
Exactly. Hill even suggests that figures like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, people known for their strong personalities and drive, they might have achieved their success partly because of this transmuted energy. But of course, this is a complex topic, and Hill's views, they reflect, the societal norms of his time.
Right, that's a good point. While this might sound a bit unconventional now, it is fascinating to think about how we can harness our emotions, including, sexual energy, and channel them into, well, into positive things. All right, moving on. What does the next chapter have in store?
Chapter 12 focuses on the subconscious mind, the connecting link, Hill calls it. He's basically exploring how the subconscious works, how it's like I guess you could say, a mental storehouse for all the impressions and thoughts that we, encounter. And the important thing is, he says the subconscious doesn't differentiate between like positive and negative thoughts. It just takes everything in.
It's like a sponge soaking up everything, whether it's good or bad.
Oh, yeah.
How do we make sure our subconscious is, working for us, not against us?
Well, Hill says we have to be intentional about what we feed our subconscious minds. He says we need to focus on positive thoughts, thoughts that are emotionally charged. And this goes back to that idea of autosuggestion. By repeatedly focusing on what we want, visualizing our goals, believing in ourselves, we can actually program our subconscious to, attract the circumstances and resources we need to make our dreams real.
So it's about being aware of our thoughts, right? Getting rid of the negative ones and replacing them with positive affirmations that support our goals. Does Hill offer any techniques, any practical ways to actually influence our subconscious mind?
He does. He tells this story about Dr. Elmer Gase, this inventor, a really prolific one. He created what he called a personal communication room. It was this soundproof and lightproof space where he could shut out all distractions and just like tap into his creative imagination. By quieting his conscious mind, he could access the power of his subconscious. And that's how he came up with so many ideas and solutions.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like creating a sanctuary for your mind, a place where you can connect with your inner wisdom and, unleash your creative potential. We've covered so much ground. Desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, making decisions, being persistent, mastermind groups, sex transmutation, and the power of the subconscious mind. It's like a whole toolkit for success. What's next?
Well, chapter 13 takes us into some pretty interesting territory. It's about the brain, and Hill calls it a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. This chapter dives into telepathy, the idea that our brains can, transmit and receive thoughts.
Telepathy. That sounds kind of, sci-fi. Is Hill saying we can actually read each other's minds?
He doesn't go that far. He mentions some research done by Professor Ryan at Duke University. They were exploring extrasensory perception, things like telepathy and clairvoyance. Hill's point is that our minds are way more powerful than we think, and that we might be communicating and influencing each other in ways that we don't even realize.
That is definitely food for thought. If our brains are like, broadcasting and receiving stations, how do we make sure we're tuned into the right frequencies, the thoughts and ideas that will actually help us achieve our goals?
That's where chapter 14 comes in, the sixth sense. The subtitle is The Door to the Temple of Wisdom. Hill says that the sixth sense is actually creative imagination, this faculty that allows us to connect with what he calls infinite intelligence.
Okay, this sounds a little mystical. What exactly is infinite intelligence, according to Hill?
He doesn't really give a specific definition, but he kind of implies it's this universal source of knowledge, a source of wisdom that we can all tap into. He describes it as a higher power, like a creative force that's everywhere, and it's available to those who develop their sixth sense.
So it's like accessing a universal database of knowledge and inspiration. How do we do that? How do we cultivate our sixth sense and tap into this infinite intelligence?
Hill shares his own personal practice. He used to hold these invisible council meetings with some of his heroes, people like Emerson, Edison, Lincoln. He would imagine them sitting around a table talking, giving him advice and inspiration. He did this to develop his character and his wisdom, to learn from the best, even if it was just in his imagination.
That's really interesting. It's like creating a mental mastermind group made up of the people you admire, surrounding yourself with their wisdom. We've covered so much: desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, being decisive, persistence, mastermind groups, sex transmutation, the power of the subconscious, the brain as a transmitter and receiver, and the sixth sense as its gateway to infinite intelligence. Wow, what a journey. So what's a final chapter in Hill's roadmap to success?
Chapter 15 is all about conquering fear. It's called How to Outwit the Six Ghosts of Fear, Clearing the Path to Achievement. Hill says there are 6 basic fears that can really hold us back: fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of losing love, fear of getting old, and fear of death.
Fear is such a powerful thing. It can stop us from taking risks, from chasing our dreams. How do we overcome these fears, according to Hill?
He says the first step is acknowledging them, confronting them head on. You can't conquer what you don't, acknowledge. And then he gives some practical tips for dealing with each of these fears. Things like positive self-talk, focusing on your strengths, surrounding yourself with supportive people, taking action even when you're scared, and developing a deep faith in your ability to handle whatever comes your way.
Those are really helpful tools for, you know, managing fear, for not letting it sabotage our success. It's about understanding that fear often comes from our own thoughts and that we have the power to choose courage over fear. So we've really explored Hill's 13 principles for success, haven't we? We've really unpacked the wisdom in Think and Grow Rich. What are your final thoughts on this book?
Think and Grow Rich, it's not just a self-help book. It's more than that. It's like a blueprint for creating a life that's meaningful, a life where you achieve things and feel fulfilled. It reminds us that we're all capable of amazing things, that our thoughts are incredibly powerful, and that with a right mindset and a willingness to take action, we can achieve anything we set our minds to. Hill's principles, they're timeless, they're universal. They give us a roadmap for dealing with life's challenges and creating a life full of abundance.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into like a truly transformative book. Before we wrap up, what's your final takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing you hope they get from our exploration of Think and Grow Rich?
Think and Grow Rich doesn't just give you knowledge, it's a call to action. Hill reminds us that we have the power to create the life we want. And it starts with a thought, a burning desire, an unshakable belief that anything is possible. So my question for everyone listening is, if there's one fear that's been holding you back, what's one small but brave step that you can take today to face that fear and move closer to your dreams?
That's a great question, a real challenge for all of us. It emphasizes how important it is to take action, even a small step, to break free from fear and go after what we want. This deep dive into Think and Grow Rich has been incredible. We've uncovered so many valuable principles, and I really encourage everyone listening to go back, revisit these principles, try them out in your own lives, and see the amazing power that's inside each of you. Remember, the journey to success, it starts with a single thought, and with consistent effort and unwavering belief, anything is achievable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And don't forget the power of a mastermind group. Find those people who support you, who inspire you, people who get your vision, and they'll help you stay motivated and on track.
Great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Think and Grow Rich. It's been an enlightening and inspiring journey. Until next time, keep thinking big, keep dreaming bold, and keep growing rich in all areas of your lives.
I think the most important thing about Think and Grow Rich is, it's not just about reading and understanding, it's about actually doing something, taking action.
Yeah.
He really drives that point home. He's like, look, you have the power to create the life you want. It all starts with a thought, with that burning desire, that unshakable belief that you can achieve anything. So if there's one fear that's been holding you back, just one, what's one tiny step, but a brave one that you can take today to face that fear and get a little closer to your dreams?
That's a really good question, a challenge for all of us. It's about, doing something, even if it's small, to break free from fear and go after what you want. This deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, it's been so insightful. We've learned so much, and I really hope everyone listening will, go back, look at these principles again, really try them out in your own lives and see what happens. You might be surprised at what you're capable of. Remember, that journey to success, it all starts with a single thought, and with consistent effort and belief, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's it. And don't forget about finding your mastermind group, Those people who support you, who inspire you, who get where you're coming from, they can really help you stay motivated and on track.
That's such great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Think and Grow Rich. It's been amazing, truly inspiring. Until next time, keep thinking big, keep dreaming bold, and keep growing rich in every part of your life.